in November 2025, 3I Atlas, the third interstellar visitor to pass through the solar system, continued to excite astronomers. New data from NASA, JWST, and ESA reveal that this was not just a strange object that appeared and disappeared in the night sky, but an interstellar comet that was extremely active in a way never seen before. Its highly eccentric orbit, high speed, and composition completely different from that of the solar system, have made 3I Atlas a cosmic mystery. Recent spectroscopic measurements revealed an unusually high ratio of carbon dioxide to water in the gas surrounding it, an ion tail that developed rapidly in just a few weeks, and a dust structure with completely unfamiliar characteristics, suggesting that it originated from a physical environment profoundly different from anything we know. These factors immediately gave rise to a series of bold hypotheses. Could Atlas 3I be a fragment of an ancient planetary system that has disintegrated, a primordial remnant of the galaxy, or even a kind of natural probe sent by the universe to spread matter and information across star systems? Some outside analyses also suggested that the sharp increase in nickel and cyanide emissions when approaching the sun was like a triggered reaction, although mainstream science still insists that this is just a natural phenomenon of interstellar comets. As for what's coming, 3I Atlas is getting closer to its perigee, which is expected to happen in late October 2025, at a distance of about 136 AH. Then, on December 19, 2025, it will pass its closest point to Earth, about 18 AH, far enough away to be safe. From here, the object will continue to drift away from the boundaries of the solar system and is expected to be near Jupiter in March 2026 before disappearing forever into interstellar space. As it approaches perigee, experts predict that 3I Atlas will explode with more activity, creating a much larger tail of gas and ions than it currently has, with late 2025 to early 2026 considered the most valuable observation period before it leaves forever, despite its mystery. 3I Atlas is paradoxically not a real threat to Earth. It is more intriguing than alarming. While the media and online community continue to focus on the alien from outer space, NASA has quietly focused its efforts on 3 much larger, closer, and more dangerous objects, targets that could have a real impact on the fate of Earth and humanity's scientific understanding. NASA is shifting away from speculative speculation, like Atlas 3I, to focus on 3 entirely real targets in the inner solar system. These are objects that are tracked with millimeter precision, with a level of vigilance that surpasses that of any interstellar object ever observed by humans. They are large enough to distort the orbits of nearby objects. Some periodically pass close to Earth, and some contain ancient metallic structures that could radically alter our understanding of planetary formation. They are not as far-fetched as Atlas 3I, but they are much more real, with a clear collision history, real risk, and scientific value. So great that NASA is willing to spend billions of dollars to track and approach them. If Atlas 3I is just a curiosity, these 3 objects are the real focus of the international research community. They represent targets that could impact the future of Earth and planetary defense strategy for decades to come. The first of these concerns is 99942 Apophis, the celestial body known as the god of chaos. This object is approaching Earth on a journey that no one can ignore. On April 13, Apophis will pass by Earth at a distance of only about 32.0 kilometers, lower than the altitude of many active telecommunications satellites. This is a rare event in thousands of years when an object hundreds of meters large comes so close to Earth that it can be seen with the naked eye. That's why NASA is launching a rigorous monitoring campaign, unprecedented in the history of planetary defense. The focus of the campaign is the osiris-apex spacecraft, the new name for osiris-rex, which collected samples from the asteroid Bennu and returned them to Earth in 2023. Since the spacecraft is still operating stably, NASA decided to reuse it for a new journey. Osiris-apex, short for Apophis Explorer, is making final orbital adjustments in November 2025 to synchronize with Apophis's flight path just as it approaches Earth. This will be an unprecedented opportunity for scientists to not only observe, but also directly impact the surface of an asteroid that has the potential to affect our planet. This careful preparation has also fueled a number of unproven rumors and theories. Some independent research groups have suggested that Apophis has a unique metallic structure, possibly the remnant core of a protoplanet destroyed in the chaotic early stages of the solar system. Other researchers have suspected that Apophis's orbit has been subject to unusual fluctuations and that the 2029 approach could change its trajectory in unpredictable ways. On social media, many science channels have speculated that NASA hastily redirected osiris-rex after detecting a strange signal in radar data. While these conspiracy theories have yet to be proven, one thing is certain: Apophis is being tracked with greater precision than any asteroid before it. Even a small shift in its orbit could cause entire risk estimates to be revised. This makes Apophis one of the most closely monitored celestial objects over the next decade. The second big target is 16 Psyche, a massive treasure trove of metals floating in the asteroid belt at about 220 kilometers in diameter, larger than the area of Greece. Psyche is considered one of the most scientifically valuable celestial objects ever targeted by humans. Observational data suggests that Psyche may be the exposed core of an embryonic planet destroyed in a violent collision billions of years ago. If this hypothesis is correct, Psyche would become humanity's first direct look at the primordial metallic core of a lost world, something Earth cannot provide due to its thick, rocky crust and extreme temperatures. The Psyche spacecraft, launched in 2023, is now approaching the asteroid belt. November 2025 marks a crucial phase as it tests its electromagnetic propulsion system, calibrates its trajectory, and prepares for Psyche's entry into orbit. Once there, it will record the surface structure, analyze the metal composition, and measure the body's magnetic field, data that could completely change humanity's understanding of how planetary cores form. Psyche is also at the center of major debates. One camp argues that its greatest value lies in scientific knowledge, as direct access to a primordial metallic core is unprecedented in the history of solar system research. The other camp emphasizes the enormous economic value that Psyche could possess, with the potential to contain iron, nickel, and precious metals worth tens of trillions of dollars. Psyche is considered the largest mineral deposit in the solar system. Some experts even suggest that NASA may be holding back on releasing detailed data to avoid destabilizing global metal markets, and that future space mining may already be discussed at a preliminary level. The final results of these studies remain to be seen. However, one thing has become clear. 16 Psyche is more than just a giant hunk of metal floating in space, but a key to a new understanding of the history and structure of our own planet. The third target on NASA's watch list is 101955 Bennu, a celestial body that many scientists have called Earth's arch nemesis. Bennu is a concern not just for today, but for centuries to come. The most talked about date is September 24, when Bennu has a small but statistically significant chance of colliding with Earth. The roughly 1 inch to 700 chance, not enough to cause global panic, is enough to make Bennu the most dangerous object on the Century Risk Index. NASA's official rating system for potential collisions of the thousands of celestial objects being tracked, Bennu ranks highest on the watch list. What makes Bennu so unpredictable isn't its size, but the Yarkovsky effect, a small but constant nudge from sunlight. On the asteroid's surface, this only causes tiny deviations in Bennu's speed, but over decades, especially when combined with close approaches to Earth, its orbit can shift in unpredictable directions. A drift of a few millimeters per second may not seem like much, but when added up over years, it can turn today's safe calculations into tomorrow's risks. That's why NASA updates Bennu's data constantly, almost every observing cycle. It is this long-term risk that NASA has invested billions of dollars in the osiris-rex mission, an expedition to Bennu to analyze its structure, retrieve samples, and return them to Earth in 2023. The mission is not only purely scientific, but also an important step in preparing for a planetary defense strategy, because deflecting an asteroid requires a very clear understanding of its composition, density, porosity, and the interconnectedness of its material blocks. Bennu is being treated like a time bomb, and after it leaves, NASA will continue to monitor every change in its orbit, as if watching the heartbeat of a sleeping threat. Like many long-term objects, Bennu has not escaped the clutches of online conspiracy theorists. Some independent analysts have suggested that NASA may be hiding information because Bennu's orbit between 2020 and 2024 has some unexplained anomalies. Those in this camp believe that NASA is trying to downplay the seriousness of the problem to avoid causing public panic, especially since Bennu has become the focus of attention when it comes to the risk of a collision in the distant future. NASA denies all of these allegations, but its selective silence and the withholding of some in-depth analysis data have inadvertently fueled public curiosity. The biggest concern about Bennu is not the possibility of a collision in the next 150 years or so, but the fact that we still cannot accurately predict its long-term trajectory. That uncertainty has left Bennu as a long shadow, hanging over the scientific horizon, an undefined threat that generations of astronomers will continue to face. Each of these objects poses its own form of threat, but together they form a dangerous triangle that even NASA dares not ignore. 3. Atlas is unsettling in the way a strange object emerges from the darkness. We don't know where it came from, what it has experienced in its billions of years of drifting between star systems, and current science still can't fully explain the physical traces it carries. It's like a mysterious signal dropped into the solar system, and the scariest thing isn't its actions, but the fact that we can't predict what it will do as it passes through familiar Earth space. On the other hand, Apophis and Bennu pose a more familiar but also more dangerous form of anxiety. They are two giant bodies that constantly visit the Earth's vicinity, like persistent shadows hanging over humanity's orbit. We know their size, their structure, their approach markers, but we cannot guarantee that a slight deviation in gravity, a temperature fluctuation, or even a shift of a couple of millimeters per second will not cause them to veer off course. This sense of knowing but not being able to rest assured turns them into a long-term worry. Like seeing a bomb but not knowing where the fuse is, Psyche poses a different kind of risk. It threatens Earth not with a collision trajectory, but with the potential to challenge human understanding, the size of a country, and made from what may be the core of a shattered planet. Psyche is a metallic coffin containing ancient secrets of the universe. If current theories are correct, Psyche could reveal the entirety of how worlds were formed or destroyed in the earliest stages of our solar system. And as with anything that has existed in darkness for billions of years, what worries us most is not its size, but what might be revealed if we get too close. Three objects, three completely different types of danger. One comes from a place where humans cannot trace it. Two return as a recurring fate. And a metal monster carries a story of a dead world. NASA knows that no two objects are exactly alike, and any misjudgment could change the future of Earth in an instant. NASA's priorities reflect a fine line between what's worth observing and what's worth doing. 3, Atlas, despite the media buzz surrounding it, as a visitor from beyond the solar system, has never been viewed by the space agency as a long-term investment target. NASA has not launched a spacecraft to pursue it, modified special equipment to reach it, or developed any extensive research or defense plans around it. To NASA, 3, Atlas is an interesting object, but not a strategic priority. Bennu, Psyche, and Apophis are on a whole other level, one that requires real budgets, real spacecraft, and irreplaceable missions. Bennu was visited directly by osiris-rex, one of humanity's most ambitious and expensive sample return missions. The samples have returned to Earth to be analyzed down to the dust grains for both science and planetary defense. Psyche has its own spacecraft traveling millions of kilometers to reach a giant chunk of metal that could be the shattered core of a protoplanet, something that could rewrite our entire understanding of how rocky worlds form. And Apophis, considered the most dangerous asteroid of the decade, will be accompanied by osiris-apex when it makes its near pass to Earth in 2029, opening up an unprecedented observation window. All of these missions are deep space operations operated around the clock by thousands of engineers and scientists. They cost billions of dollars and use cutting-edge technology because any data they collect could influence how humanity prepares for the distant future. This allocation of resources reflects a reality NASA rarely talks about. Outright of the myriad celestial objects out there, only a handful are considered of real interest, and the trio of Bennu, Psyche, and Apophis hold absolute priority right. When you consider all the work NASA is doing, from ground-based observations to costly orbital adjustments to spacecraft, the picture of priorities emerges clearly. Leading the way is Apophis, the asteroid that is approaching Earth like a cosmic arrow. Its 2029 approach will not only be a unique event in observational history, but also the first real test of humanity's planetary defense capabilities. Many observers have questioned whether NASA is holding back information. Given the way Apophis has been closely monitored, and the rerouting of osiris-rex to become osiris-apex, the gaps in data only make Apophis look like humanity's final adversary. Next up is Bennu, an object that won't threaten Earth in the near future, but one that will bring a lingering sense of unease for centuries. Bennu is a reminder that a slow but steady threat can become much more terrifying than an immediate one. Some unorthodox analysts have pointed to strange fluctuations in Bennu's orbital data from 2020 to 2024 and suspect that NASA is keeping quiet to avoid panic. NASA denies this, but the lack of transparency in some of its simulations has led many to believe there's more to it than meets the eye. Bennu has long been an unsolved mystery and may remain so for generations. Psyche poses a different kind of threat. It's not its orbit that threatens it, but the values and secrets it hides. To conspiracy theorists, Psyche is like a key to a vast treasure trove of metals that could destabilize the entire global economy. If the truth were made public, NASA has not commented on these rumors, and that silence makes Psyche all the more mysterious. And finally, 3, Atlas. Despite the media frenzy and endless speculation about its extrasolar origins, it remains a transient visitor. NASA has not invested in tracking it, has not launched a spacecraft to meet it, and has not considered it a long-term threat. This has led many to wonder, does NASA know it is not dangerous? Or is there another reason they have not shared with the public? In a world where every number must be accurate to the millimeter, where a small mistake can change the fate of the entire planet, the real competition is not the object that gets the most attention, but the one that has the most impact. And in 2025, whatever the media says about 3 Atlas, NASA will still be laser focused on Apophis, Bennu, and Psyche, 3 celestial bodies that could shape the future of humanity in ways we can't even imagine yet. Every object hurtling through space has a story to tell, and sometimes it's a story that could change the future of humanity. Apophis, Bennu, Psyche, 3 seemingly far-off objects are being placed on NASA's high-priority list with unprecedented vigilance. Meanwhile, 3 Atlas continues to zip by, a reminder that beyond the solar system, there's still a lot we can't reach. The biggest question now is not whether they are dangerous, but what will they tell humanity? Will Apophis force us to activate our planetary defenses for the first time in history? Does Bennu really hold a secret that NASA is not yet ready to reveal? Will Psyche open a new chapter for science or space exploration? And is 3 Atlas the last interstellar object we will see, or just the beginning of a series of strange visitors to come, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of the important moments in space history?